Looking ahead to John Smith's Cup Day at York on Saturday. We've got 3 bets on the card, and we'll start in the big race itself, which is due off at 2:30. It's always a competitive handicap, this. I think this year's renewal in particular looks really good. The likes of fifth position and Harrovian are horses that are arriving on the up. I think the best treated in here though is Solid Stone for Sir Michael Stoute. He's a horse that I think has got unfinished business at 1.25 miles. Started out at this trip at the beginning of last season. He won on reappearance. He sort of didn't really go on from that in the way that I thought he might. He did get back on track, dropped back to 1 mile for his last 3 starts of the year. And his reappearance win again at Sandown last month was really impressive at 1 mile. I thought he did really well to come from the back in a steadily run race, strong at the finish. And it was very much a case of the way that he won that suggested that he'd stay ahead of the handicapper. A new mark of 101, I think, is fair. The draw is potentially a complicating factor. A wide draw at this trip at York isn't ideal. But I think he's the sort of horse that's going to take really well to the demands of a big field, strongly run handicap. And like I say, I think he's on the up. I think he's potentially got a bit more still to come, going back up to 1.25 miles. And yeah, I think he's going to run really well. The second bet is in the 305, the listed 5 furlong race, and it's Moss Gill. This is a horse that I tipped in the Palace House Stakes, and essentially the case that I made there is still the one that I sort of stand by, really. I think that he's an improving sprinter that we just haven't seen the best of yet. You can completely chalk off his run in the Palace House. The track seemed to catch him out a little bit. He was messed around with sort of 2 furlongs out, and basically once the race had got away from him, he's kind of left to his own devices. You think back to the course and distance handicap that he won last year. That was a strong 3-year-old race, and he did it very much in the style of a horse that would be capable of making his mark at listed level or higher. He gets another crack at it here. I don't think it's the strongest of races. You've got Alpha Delphini coming back from a long absence. Kea Moro was obviously quite impressive at Ayr last time, but this is tougher again, and she probably has to improve again a little bit. So I think Moss Gill, on form that we've seen already, has a good chance, and I think there's more still to come. So at around the 8-1 mark, I thought he made plenty of appeal. And the final bet is in the 340. Again, quite a competitive race. The two that are probably going to be at the head of the betting are Make My Day for Rafe Beckett. He's left John Gosden unexposed after just 3 starts, but he's coming back from a pretty lengthy absence. And you've got Al Muffrey as well, who I think really probably wants a drop back to 1.25 miles. He's often pretty fiery in his races. So for that reason, I thought it was worth having a stab at one at slightly a bigger price. And the one that I sort of fell down on was Elector, a horse that was pretty well thought of when he was with Sir Michael Stoute. He won on his reappearance last year, was well fancied for a valuable handicap at Epsom. Similarly to Solid Stone, he sort of didn't really go on from that winning reappearance, but he switched yards. He's joined David O'Mara. His run at Doncaster I thought was very encouraging. It was very much a case of, I think, new connections sort of finding out what they had with him, and it's going to blow away the cobwebs as well. I think, his low mileage for a 5-year-old, there's potentially still a little bit better to come. This looks the ideal spot for him, and I think with that reappearance under his belt, Elector can run well.